Welcome to Lab Rats. I'm Andy Walker.
I'm Sean Carruthers.
And the reason I'm juggling cameras today is because we're going to be taking a real close look at what goes inside a digital camera. We're here at the Panasonic Product Expo. We're going to be talking to Doug Borbath, who's going to take us through the anatomy of a digital camera. And then you talked to him a little later on, didn't you?
Yeah, juggling is a good metaphor because you may be juggling a few different choices in terms of what you're going to get if you're thinking of buying one. So you might be looking at digital SLR, point and shoot, one with an ultra zoom, one that's just really ultra compact. So we're going to take you through those steps with Doug and see what the best choice is for you.
All right, well, with that said, let's take a look.
Zoom and action.
Well, hi, I'm sitting here with Doug Borbath from Panasonic. Doug, what do you do at Panasonic?
I'm the product manager for imaging products.
Okay, so you're the camera guru.
Cameras and camcorders is what I do.
Awesome. We're going to talk about the anatomy of a digital camera. You know, everybody has one these days, many people do. But there's a lot of magic that goes on inside these things. So what are the three components that are the most important to make, a camera go?
Well, I would say if you look at the track that the light would follow going into your camera, the lens is extremely important, how well it handles the light and how well it directs it through the system.
Right.
The CCD, or charge coupled device, which is the processor or the image sensor, is very important. And the actual image processing engine within the camera is extremely important as well.
Well, let's start with any one of those. What maybe the chip itself, because the chip is what captures the image, right? Tell me a little bit about what a CCD is, what it means, and why it's important.
CCD stands for charged coupled device, although that in itself doesn't mean that
No,
much.
that's right.
But what it is when you had a film camera, light would pass through, and it would be read as through a chemical process on the film.
Right.
In the world of digital, we have this CCD, which has millions of little photosensors or light sensors known as pixels. So that's why you'll see a 5 megapixel or 6 megapixel. So it has millions.
It's an element that captures light.
Right.
Okay.
So the light passes through and gets to this sensor in these millions of locations. Each one determines a color, and it also determines how vivid that color is or how bright that color is at that spot.
Right.
And this is done in millions of different little places on that chip simultaneously.
Simultaneously, right. So it's a point of light, and it's evaluating what the quality of light is and how intense it is.
The color and intensity is determined. Then it's converted to a digital signal.
Right.
And digital signals are in binary code.
Ones and zeros. We all know that, yeah.
And then from that, they're recorded as a digital file on your memory card.
Oh, I see. Okay. So it's basically it's in an information collector.
Yeah.
And so the more elements that collect more information, the better the quality of the image is going to be. Correct? The more pixels there are.
Right.
The more information is going to be in that photograph.
Yeah, except it's a bit of a common misperception that just having more pixels gives you a better image.
Is that right?
Yeah, because a lot of people don't think about the other elements. What about the quality of your processor that puts this all into a file?
Well, let's talk about the processor, because that sounds like it's really important.
Sure. The processor has to take all this information, grab it as accurately as it can, and convert it.
Now, is this like the processor in my computer, like a microprocessor, like a Pentium 4 kind of thing?
A little smaller.
A little smaller, right.
But what it does is it really has to take the information off the sensor. And the processor is also responsible for a lot of the camera functions that lead to your good picture quality. So the ability to focus, the ability to get the right white level, all of those things all get handled by your processor.
It's like the office manager inside the camera. It handles all of the data, and it makes sure everything works properly and everything works together.
But it doesn't yell at you when you're late.
That's true. All right. And so does that get faster, like a Pentium 3, Pentium 4, and then the next generation? Is that what's happening now in cameras too?
Well, for example, in Panasonic, we have our engine is called the Venus engine.
Right.
We have 3 different ones.
Oh, right.
Each one caters to specific applications.
Right.
And our newest one, the Venus 3, is the fastest one we've ever made.
Right. Now, with that, and what will that control to? Will that control how quickly the picture is taken to?
Yes.
It will, because it's capturing that image, that information, and it's sticking it on that data card.
Right.
Right. Okay. Now, there's a third item, and I always think that this is one of the most important things, and that is the what?
The lens quality.
The lens quality, right. Now, so exactly what is a lens? Everybody sees that bumpy thing at the front of the camera, but what exactly is it? What's it made of?
A lens actually has a bunch of different lens elements within it.
Okay.
They may have 8 or 10 or 12 or 13 different pieces of glass that the light passes through before it gets to that image sensor.
So if you wear glasses, you have a lens and a lens.
Right.
So in a camera lens, is like a lens, one of those lenses multiple, is it mounted in front of each other?
Yeah, they're all one behind each other.
Right.
The important elements there is that they can direct the light perfectly to the right spot on that CCD we talked about.
All right.
And that between one layer and another, you don't want to get the light bouncing back or reflecting.
Right.
you also don't want that light getting distorted on the way through.
Right. Oh, so it's a light management system is what it is.
Yeah.
To make sure that the light gets into the CCD in such a way that it's nice and clear and pretty. And I guess a bad lens means a bad image.
Yeah, because one of the biggest challenges is what makes the science of it is different wavelengths of light. Red, green, and blue are the primary colors we see.
Right.
They go through the light at different angles, or through the lens at different angles.
Right. Great. Well, and I guess is made out of glass or made out of plastic. What is it made out of?
All of our lenses, I can't comment on every lens. There are some that use acrylic elements, are glass.
Right. Very cool. All right. Well, thank you, Doug, for taking us through the anatomy of a digital camera. Coming up next, you're going to see Sean, who's going to talk again to Doug and take a look at how you can use this information and buy the right camera for you.
All right, so we've talked about what goes into each digital camera, and now we're going to talk about the two main types of digital cameras that are out there, point and shoot and digital SLR. And Doug is back with us to tell us about the differences. Let's talk about point and shoot first.
Okay.
The most common category. What is point and shoot?
Point and shoot, quite shockingly, you can just pick it up, point, and shoot. It's just very simple to use cameras.
Excellent. So what different features would you find in a typical point and shoot camera?
Point and shoot cameras vary a lot in the size of the camera, how much zoom it has.
We've got three different types here, and we see three different sizes here.
Right.
So let's start with this one right here. What's this one all about?
Well, obviously it's very small, so one of the unique challenges for people getting their camera around is that they don't want to take it everywhere because it might be kind of big. This one you can easily fit in your pocket, or a woman can put it in her purse, or you can put it in a little case. The neat thing about it is very large LCD.
It's very important for framing.
Yeah, and this particular camera can do a 28mm wide angle, so you can get all your friends in at the party rather than just a few of them.
Or pretty good for a landscape shot, getting everything across that scenic vista as well. All right, so that's great. So one quick thing that I want to ask about is with the big LCD on the back, how's that for battery life? It used to be a huge issue.
Not anymore.
Not anymore? Good.
Every one of the cameras we make get over 200 shots with a single battery charge.
Excellent. So the next one you have in your hand there is about the same size, a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
What's the main feature of this particular one?
Well, one of the limitations of a smaller camera is you can't zoom a lot.
Yes.
This particular camera can zoom quite a bit more. Most cameras of this size can zoom about 3 or 4 times.
Right, and that's because the image is coming straight in through the lens and hitting a sensor.
Right.
Right at the back, and there's not a lot of throw room here.
Right. But what's unique about this is the new DMC TZ1. What this allows people to do is actually zoom 10 times.
10 times. How does
10
it do
times in that much zoom throw.
I don't believe it. You got to tell me more.
Okay. What's unique about this camera is the light comes in through the lens as we discussed, but it hits a reflective device, a prism, and goes in sideways through the camera.
Ah, so it's bending around a corner.
More or less. But a lot of the zoom is being done in there. In addition, all Panasonic cameras have an optical image stabilizer, because now that people are buying cameras who have maybe bought one before, over 50% of people buying cameras now owned one before. They know a lot of times their pictures were shaky. The optical stabilizer actually moves part of those lens elements.
So Andy was talking earlier about the lenses in a row, and that's how it does it. It moves them in the middle.
Some of them move, and what they do is they compensate for any shake that might be in your hand.
Excellent. So is it only in these larger cameras?
No, actually, that's one thing that's exclusive to Panasonic. We have an optical stabilizer in every one of our digital cameras.
Sounds good. Now we've talked about, we mentioned digital SLR. This one looks like it's a digital SLR, but it's not quite.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about this.
This is a point and shoot camera that gets just about as close to digital SLR as you can with point and shoot. And what defines it is it has the lens that is fixed, so you don't have to attach different lenses. One of the great benefits of a camera like this is you can get 35 to 420 millimeters of zoom, or 12 times optical, without having to use one lens for one range of zoom, another lens for another range of zoom. It also has a bunch of advanced dials and features to control your aperture and your shutter and all your picture controls.
Right, so it's almost everything you need, including the focus and the zoom and focus rings on the end.
Right.
So with a camera like this, why would you actually want to go to digital SLR?
Well, the one big advantage of digital SLR is, remember we talked about those sensors and all the millions of pixels on them? Digital SLR sensors are bigger.
Aha.
Because they're bigger, the little pixels in there are bigger. So they can collect more light, and they can therefore assemble images with more information, making them a little more accurate for picture quality.
All right. So what kind of price ranges are you looking for the smaller ones all the way up through to digital SLR? Let's start at the small end.
Our point-and-shoot cameras in US dollars start from around $200 and get up around $600, $700.
Okay, 200 is pretty affordable as a way in. And how about digital SLR?
Digital SLR product, usually again in US dollars, is in the $600 range up to a couple of $1,000s.
Right, and if you want to be really professional, 15, 20,000 and up.
That's right.
Anyways, that about covers it. Thanks a lot, Doug.
Thank you.
Well, I'm feeling pretty chilled here at the Panasonic Product Showcase.
What is that, a shakuhachi?
What's a shakuhachi?
I don't know. I'm sure something will fly up over the screen right now.
Oh, okay, good. Well, that's it for us. I'm feeling very zen about digital cameras. I think I'm going to rush out and buy one. I should quite like that Lumix product. Looks, with a 10 times zoom, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, all of the Lumix ones that I've seen are actually pretty nice.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, we would say that here at the Panasonic Showcase, but
it's one of those things that I think they don't always think about Panasonic being sort of a leader in any category. They're always like the insurance company of technology in the sense that you can rely on them, but they're never super innovative. But in digital cameras, they've really sort of stepped out in front, I think.
These new Lumix models, and as Doug mentioned, all of the cameras now have optical image stabilization on board, which is a step in the right direction. It's something that a lot of people need, especially when you get into smaller form factors.
Right, cool.
So anyways.
All right, that's it for us. Don't forget, of course, we always love to hear from you. Send email to feedback@labrats.tv.
Check out the forums as usual at labrats.tv/forums.
Right, and with loads of back episodes. In fact, we did mention, I think, in one of the segments about episode 3, but you take a look at that if you want to learn more about image stabilization. It's a great little segment. It's such a food demo, so you might like that.
Yeah, it was about digital video, but a lot of the stuff in there actually follows through into today's modern digital still cameras as well. So.
There you go. Well, for Lab Rats, I'm Andy Walker.
I was going to get into a pillow fight with you, Mr. Andy Walker, but I think I'm feeling a little bit too chilled out. I'm Chunk Others, by the way.
Bye.
Are you ready? Try this at home.
Sucker punch!
Absolutely, exactly.
I'm going to the police.
Going to a police.